Hi, I'm Daniel Fang. I play in the band Turnstile. I'm here at MixWave Studios, and we're going to talk about my drum library. This whole thing came about because Luke Holland just hit me up one day. He told me about MixWave, invited me to try out a bunch of the drum libraries from other artists, like his own and Thomas Pridgen's, and it sounds amazing. I'm a big fan of using these plugins to demo, to put together compositions for my own creative stuff, or for writing with Turnstile, writing with other bands, and just kind of like archiving ideas. So this seemed like a really exciting opportunity to make my own, which is a dream come true. Like having your own sound, I couldn't think of anything better, and having that to use for myself is one thing. Having it available for other people is really exciting, because I love to talk to people about drums in particular, but especially when they ask me hey, what did you use for this album? What cymbals, what drums, what heads you use in general for touring or for practice or for whatever? What kind of tunings do you use? And how did you put together drum sounds and cymbal sounds and create a composition of those sounds for a song, for a record, and how do those choices work? And I enjoy talking about that stuff. I enjoy sharing whatever I've found that feels comfortable with me and sounds good to me and sounds good to the rest of the band. So to be able to directly give that to someone and have them demo or write songs and use those samples in songs, or just jam with them on an e-kit, it's really cool. It's this kind of barrier breaking phenomenon where anyone can access something as intimate as what I play in a studio or what I play at home. So it's a fun idea, and I think it works in so many different applications. So I'm really honored to do it. So everything that I tour with and record with, I brought here to the studio. I play Zildjian cymbals, Ludwig drums and hardware, Remo heads, and Latin percussion. I use all that. I think I would make those choices to use all those products, whether or not I was endorsed by them, but they're all just the best of what they do. Generally, I like cymbals that just sound pretty, and a lot of the cymbals that I use are, I think, versatile. I play a lot of K-line. I have a K cluster, I have K dark custom crashes, I have the K fat hats that recently came out, I have a K sweet ride cymbal. I think a lot of these cymbals, they work for almost any kind of music, and I like having all those mainstays, because Turnstile in particular has a lot of different sounding songs, so it just makes sense to choose something that works for all of them. And occasionally I'll bring out a cymbal here and there that is more of a specialty, like the K cluster, for example, has the qualities of a crash cymbal, but it sounds like there's a gain knob on it, and it has this harder hitting attack, and then decays a lot faster. So I think it's important to have your versatile cymbals and your more specialized cymbals, but in general I like keeping it pretty simple, not having too many drums, too many cymbals. And on that note, my drums, they're just one up and one down. For this, I'm using a Ludwig oak kit. Again, the most versatile kit. I think it sounds good with literally anything. And I have a bunch of different snares I brought, all of which I've toured with, most of which I've recorded with too, which is no surprise because Ludwig snares are probably the most recorded snare in history, the Black Beauty in particular. I have two Black Beauties. I have a 5-inch deep one and a 6.5-inch deep one. I experiment with using the regular flange tube that comes with it and a die-cast tube. Both are great options. Both have their separate merits. They work really well. I play Remo Vintage Emperor coated on everything usually. Sometimes I'll switch it up and use some of the color tones, but anything 2-ply that's durable but also has a really beautiful tone, it works well in any context. I have Latin percussion cowbells. I actually have a bunch of them, and I'll kind of switch them out occasionally. One for variety, and two because they get mangled pretty fast, because we just smack them a lot every day on tour. But I really enjoy hearing the different intervals of all their cowbells. They all have really unique qualities. It's fun finding the right interval, and that could be one that matches Turnstile songs or ones that just, they sound good with a certain interval, but they all sound great, and they all do different things. Some are meant to be mounted on timbales, but they sound cool in the context of a rock song. I think it's cool to have an open mind when choosing those little sounds for flavor, for little hits here and there. I play Vic Firth drumsticks. I have a signature 5B that I just play slightly heavier, but the normal length and shape and everything, and I'm using those for this drum library. I think like the shape of the drum and the weight and the shape of the stick actually are a recipe for like really unique sounds. You hit an 18-inch floor tom with the 7/8 stick, it's gonna sound kind of strange, but different. That could be cool. I just like the combo of how like heavy 5Bs sound with these drums. So that's another aspect of personality and unique quality that I think this drum library has, particularly with like the loudest velocity hits. I think that's the most fun, what I'm trying to give a lot of the time in the studio or on stage. So I'm happy to have that translate through the library. I definitely gravitate towards a certain drum sound, and so does Brendan from Turnstile, who's the main songwriter and also an incredible drummer. And so we love taking a very deliberate approach to getting certain drum sounds, because like I think everyone in the band feels that the drums and the pulse of a song are kind of like the most important foundation for when we first hear something. I think that's what we all kind of resonate with first, the drums. And so there are certain qualities of like how a snare sound feels right for Turnstile or feels right for us, and just terms of like what we like to hear and what feels energetic and translates energy well. So in the making of the Turnstile album, Glow On, there was definitely the same approach we've always had of getting a certain snare sound. Although we change the snares out and change the verb and little things for every song, I think there's kind of this mainstay sound throughout the whole album. Some snares we use like more or less dampening on because of how it could fit into a mix. Like sometimes you want to focus on like a little bit tighter of a sound and not a sound of like a snare being played in a basketball gym, although that's really cool. Because you want guitars to come through and hear them and not have this kind of like muddy in between where you're hearing like two instruments compete for space sonically. So that's one thing I really like about MixWave, is being able to like mix within the software. I've never experienced software that you can plug into a DAW and mix the drums independently like within that plugin, because how the drums sit in the context of a song is everything. They can sound great on their own, but it doesn't really matter once you incorporate a guitar track and a vocal track and then 30 other tracks. Like the finished product is how all these sounds kind of mix together, and that can be a difficult process. So having the option to do that in MixWave is really cool. Specifically on like the Turnstile sound and what I like, what everyone in the band likes, I think it's kind of similar to what we'd like to hear live. If you go to a show, it could be like a little club show, a basement show, an outdoor festival. The drums are gonna hit you far away. Like when you're walking up to the stage, I think that's like the first thing anyone picks up on and like really like physically like resonates with them. So that I think that's always in the forefront of our minds when we're thinking about sounds. Like what is gonna get you excited about something? What is gonna like maybe passively make you nod your head to a song, or actively just be like the driving force in a song, where like guitars and the vocal cadence can kind of just like blend with the rhythm of drums. So the sound of that, whether it be like the kick and the snare, it's extremely important. So a lot of time in studios, we start recording drums first. So like those choices are made before the choices of a guitar sound or bass guitar sound, and everything kind of like shapes around it. So yeah, I play what I like, and sometimes that means coming down and tuning a little bit, coming up and tuning a little bit, but I like a certain energy that's translated through a snare drum with like a really loud rim shot with a certain head on it at a certain tuning. That can be different on like a song by song basis, but I think in general it's that rim shot that just like gives you energy. And some songs like benefit more from a more like laid back, muted snare, muted toms and kick and everything, but the way I've always liked to play it is to have drums that kind of like cut through everything and just grab a listener. That's what interests me and like resonates with me. So I'm hoping that comes through all the way in this drum library. One thing I've always really liked about drums is just the sense of community. I first got into drums when I was 14 years old, and I didn't really know a lot of other people playing music. I was more like an internet kid. I was on the Pearl Drummers forum. I was on all these like kind of niche drum forums, connecting with other people out there, talking about drums, just being generally nerdy about drum things is so magical, and it still is so magical. I feel like very blessed that I get to hit all these drums I've like dreamed of owning, and I have more than one drum kit now, and I have more than a couple crash cymbals now, and it's like all a dream come true to be able to talk to other people on an online forum like I did when I was a kid, to continuing that nowadays when like I can talk to people on social media who just want to like riff about drums, or they have questions on like what kit should I buy, what cymbal should I buy, what did you use for this or that. I like being able to have like this one-on-one connection with someone, because I know I would have loved that as a kid, being able to reach out to any of my favorite drummers, or just, you know, been curious about who played on this record, be able to like search it and then find those specs of what someone used, maybe like find the stems of their drum tracks online. So it's really important to me that drumming in particular is this like open source community where there's like a flow of information, a flow of inspiration going between players, mixers, producers, all different types of artists, because I mean that's what pushes art forward. That's what makes people excited to pick up sticks or to program stuff in the comfort of their bedroom, start a band, or to, you know, get out there and start touring and just put music and put art forth like into the world. It's a beautiful thing, and so I think MixWave is just like this next step of connecting in a way that I never even dreamed was possible. So I'm hoping people try this out. I'm hoping people try all the other artist libraries out on MixWave. I'm just really looking forward to that like continued conversation and that continued and growing access to ideas and sound. So yeah, I hope you enjoy.